All right, my friends, it looks like we are live. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Emma Lewzey. I'm at Blue Sky Philanthropy, and today I'm being joined by Laurie Fox, and we are talking all things planned giving, more specifically, talking about gifts and wills and all the latest research and strategy you need. All right, so Laurie, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Laurie Fox, and I like to consider myself a die-hard charity professional. I've been in the sector for over 20 years now, working on both programs and development and fundraising, but particularly in planned giving for the past 10 years. And it was about 3 years ago that a bunch of colleagues of mine identified the need in Canada to have a mass campaign to encourage more Canadians to leave a gift in their will. And that was the seedling for what is now 𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵. 𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵 is Canada's biggest effort to encourage gifts and wills amongst Canadians. It's a campaign that we just piloted with the 𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵. So we're working with the 𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵, or this is a program of the 𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵. And we piloted it in southwestern Ontario this September. So yeah, I am the director of 𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵. I work with 𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵 on the campaign, and we're looking forward to going national next year.
Awesome, awesome. Well, if folks are just joining us and tuning in now, I'm Emma at Blue Sky Philanthropy. I'm being joined by Laurie Fox of 𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵 and willpower.ca. And we are going to be sharing all of the latest research and strategies to help you raise more gifts and wills from your donors. So if you're joining us now live, I want to encourage you, go ahead. If you have any questions for us, go ahead and drop those below while we're chatting. If you're joining us for the replay and you're just catching up, please go ahead and use the hashtag replay so we can pop back in and say hi and answer any questions that you have. So Laurie, I'm going to get us started with my first question to you, because I've read this research. I find this absolutely fascinating, what you have discovered. And I want to encourage folks, even if you're tuning in from outside of Canada, I think there's some really interesting findings here around donor behavior. So stay tuned, even if you're fundraising outside of the Canadian area. Laurie, I'm really curious, what for you was the most surprising thing to come out of this research around gifts and wills?
Yeah. So we conducted this research at the end of 2019 with Environics. What it was a lay of the land. We wanted to know what the state of legacy giving in Canada. So attitudinal beliefs towards legacy giving, how many people give a gift in their will, how many people write a will, work with advisors, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I think probably the most surprising thing to me wasn't necessarily even the findings, but the degree to which people held the beliefs. So for example, one of the big findings that came out of the research was that the biggest barrier by far for Canadians in considering a gift in the will is the belief that it will take away from loved ones. So for them, it's this either or choice. Either I can leave a gift in my will to my loved ones, or I can support a charity. I can't do both, which of course is not true. And that's not surprising. I think a lot of us who work in planned giving know this, but it's the degree to which they held that belief. So 67% of Canadians immediately held this belief over other beliefs like it's only for wealthy, I need more information. Those are really far down the ladder as far as their concerns.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. So part of our job as fundraisers is going to be helping donors overcome some of those barriers, right? Are there any other barriers we need to think about helping donors overcome? And, do you have any bright ideas as to how to address that issue if that's such a sticking point for folks around including a charity in their will?
Yeah, so I would say that is by far the biggest issue that any fundraiser needs to come. The Canadians who don't consider gifts and wills, they won't even consider the idea. They immediately reject the idea because of this either or choice. So by far, that is the first thing that we need to address.
Mm-hmm.
And once you overcome that barrier, what we're seeing in willpower is once you overcome that barrier, people are certainly interested, and it's little nudges along the journey. So, the journey to leaving a gift in the will can be up to 10 to 12 years.
Wow.
It's a long, complex journey that's often iterative. And this is where behavioral science and nudging comes along. So making the process easy and nudging along the way is really what helps people move to action. But really that the biggest barrier that any fundraiser needs to address is showing them that they can do both. And so what we've done in Willpower is, go on the website, you can take a look at the legacy calculator, for example. We simply go out there with an easy message saying, I love my children. I also love trees, for example. And then we throw them to the Willpower website where they can use the calculator to show, if I have this much and I leave, 1% of my estate to charity and I leave 99% to my loved ones, that's still quite a bit left for my loved ones. And I can leave the biggest gift I've ever left in my life to the cause I really care about and make a difference. So maybe that, using that percentage I find really works well too, showing them how they can do it in percentage terms.
Yeah, that sounds super smart. So, okay, that's a great tip, and I think really practical strategy that folks can implement and start thinking about right away in like their conversations and communications with donors. So, what are we doing as fundraisers that we need to stop doing? Like, what are we doing that's not as effective as we think it is when it comes to gifts and wills?
Yeah. So if you take a look on the research, which is on the CAGP website, the way I like to break down someone's journey through gifts and wills is through what's called the AIDA context. So that's that's AIDA, moving from awareness, interest, desire, action. So at the top of the funnel there, awareness, what we found in the research is that 86% of Canadians are aware of gifts and wills. Awareness is not the issue. So I'd say number one, that's probably one of the things that we don't need to focus on. That's telling people that, hey, did you know you can leave a gift in your will? Most people know they can leave a gift in their will. So I wouldn't focus our energies there. There's about 31% of Canadians are interested, but as I mentioned before, there's about 63% of Canadians who aren't interested, immediately reject. We just talked about what we need to do to get over that barrier, get more people interested, that either or choice. And once people are aware, once people are interested, they tend to move into consideration and then to action. But they do need these kind of easy nudges along the way. Sorry, I didn't mention, but one of the other things that we concentrate on, or some of us tend to concentrate on in plan giving, is will writing. So what we found, is will writing a barrier? Do people need to write wills before they even consider leaving a gift in a will? And what we found is that only 56% of Canadians do write a will, but by the time they reach 65, I think something like 79% of Canadians have a will. And by the time they reach 75, almost 90% have a will. So people do write wills. Will writing is also not something that we need to concentrate on. So to summarize, the two things I would recommend not doing in plan giving fundraising is focusing on the need to write a will. That's for someone else to do, the Law Association, and awareness. Everyone's aware. Focus on really getting over that barrier and making the case for your organization.
This is really interesting to me because I feel like this is a shift in the way we're approaching gifts and wills and plan giving that may differ. I might be dating myself, but I think when I started fundraising, that was very much what the approach was about, is about raising awareness, about supporting donors and writing wills. And so what you're talking about is a real strategic shift in the way that we're doing things, and actually needing to stop doing some what may be kind of outdated behaviors that aren't necessarily contributing to our fundraising in the way that we think it is. So that is super interesting to me, and really useful information. So when we're thinking about which donors we should be focusing on and thinking about and talking to when we're thinking about gifts and wills, where do we need to be focusing our efforts?
Yes. So the research showed two very clear groups that are interested in gifts and wills. So we have, as far as age, 35 to 50-year-olds and 65 to 74-year-olds. So the 35 to 50-year-olds are most interested in gifts and wills, actually. And if you think about it, it is the right time, and timing is everything. They're writing their first will. So they are thinking about the future. They are thinking about planning, and they're very interested in making a difference. However, the 65 to 74-year-olds are also quite interested, but they're more seriously interested. So they're moving more towards consideration. What research out of the UK shows that if you actually can get a gift in the will at a younger age, at the 35 to 50, then a gift in will tends to stay, the chances of it staying in a will are better, and the chances of that gift growing over time are better. But it does take, it's a huge investment. That's a long time before you're going to see that gift come to fruition. So most people tend to focus on the boomers, the 65 to 74 particularly, because they're interested and it's that time in their life and they're making those decisions. So that's when they're revising their will, and they'll put it in their second will essentially. But I think it depends on the size of your organization, what kind of investment you want to make in plan giving. If you want to make, if you're going to make this big fulsome investment in plan giving and you've been doing it for a time and you're looking for different strategies, I would suggest going to the younger group. It does require a different approach, and it does require different messaging. But most people focus on the 65 to 74, and that's a perfectly reasonable group to focus on. The one group I would not recommend focusing on from a marketing perspective, from a mass marketing perspective, not necessarily a one-on-one individual perspective, is 75 plus. So they were one group in our research that were the least interested in gifts and wills. And if you think about this, this makes sense as to where they are in their life. They've probably written their last will or one of their last wills. They're on fixed incomes. They feel like they've made their plans already. They indicated in the research that they are the least interested. Now, I say this from a mass marketing perspective because I'm sure everybody in their portfolio has a number of people in that 75 plus age group that are interested. But when we're speaking about the average Canadian, it's not the best group to go to.
Okay, that's interesting. And we had a comment from Denise. Hi, Denise. Denise, I like this. Denise is really reframing the awareness piece, saying that maybe fundraisers have done such a great job in making people aware of the fact that they, need a will and can write a will, that and can include a gift in their will, that now we're actually moving on to the next stage, which I like that. It's a great way to reframe it. So we have achieved awareness now, and now it's time for us to move on to the next stage. So perfect. Love that.
Good job, nonprofit sector. Good job, charities.
I love it. I love it. So if you're just joining us, I see folks just joining us right now, please go ahead. We're going to share more information about strategies and research you need to raise more gifts and wills. But if you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them below, because we're live with you and we're here to answer any questions that you have about your specific situation or organization. And even if you're joining us for the replay, we'll come back and check in and see if there's any questions to follow up on. So go ahead and let us know if you have anything that you're curious about when it comes to raising more gifts and wills for your organization. So I wanted to follow up a little bit on the age group approach, because I'm really interested. The 35 to 50 age group was I felt like that was a surprise to me. And you had mentioned there are different ways you might market to the two different target age groups. So in what ways may your marketing or messaging differ between those two target groups?
Yeah, well, that's a pretty deep question. So this is kind of playing on the different generations and their different values and how we speak to the different generations. And I'm sure there's people, for example, at Veronix does psychographic profiles who have far more knowledge on this than me. But what I have seen, certainly when it comes to 35 to 50, you're looking at millennials and Gen Xers there. Certainly a lot of information on millennials, and what they want to see is impact. They want to see, and they want to be involved. More so than the boomers, who really, for them, you're really appealing to their values and their sense of belief, making the world a better place. I would actually highly encourage you to go on the Veronix website and take a look at their psychographic profiles, to take a look at different different mechanisms that you would use to speak to them, different strings you would pull to, tug on different values for each group. I would say also tactically, as far as channel goes, millennials won't respond to direct mail like the boomers will. I think we all know this. It's very much an online process. Emails marketing is still quite effective. Doing a lot socially and online as well, if you've got that following, if you've got that group. And but yes, boomers, you can still get a lot of traction out of a direct mail campaign. Email is still quite effective with boomers as well. And just a plug for Willpower. We do a lot of this stuff through Willpower. So the charity, I think we have about 80 charities and advisors who are part of Willpower. We provide kind of template communications of essentially plan giving a box for you to speak to your donors to help move them along.
That's great. Yeah, I noticed, and I'll just give many charities are doing interesting work around this, but I will just give a shout out to Greenpeace Canada, because I've been noticing, I think they're also a participant in the program. I've been noticing they've been doing really cool digital communications around gifts and wills. And so if you're interested, I would say go check out. I always really encourage you to see, what are other folks doing that are doing this well. And I've been really interested to see this messaging increasingly coming out through digital channels, which I think is very cool and very interesting. So yeah, they're doing a cool job on that for sure. Okay, so let's see if there's any, and go ahead if you're just joining us, feel free to drop a question below. Is there anything else, like if you could leave fundraisers with just like one tip that's super practical that they could implement today, what would it be?
Well, I think probably the biggest tip would be invest in plan giving. Not a lot of, I'm going to say not a large percentage of a charitable sector does invest in plan giving, but the time really is now. We're seeing a huge uptake in wills and a huge uptake in interest, particularly in times of economic downturn. That's when this type of giving tends to increase. And because it's not giving that you're asking now, but giving in the future. And the payoff is huge. It is a long investment, but the average gift in a will in Canada is at the very least $30,000. So you're looking at, kind of like a 3 or 4 cent on the dollar return for investing in plan giving. So simply making the investment is huge. I'd say probably the easiest thing if you're just getting started in plan giving is to integrate communications with your other channels, integrate messaging with your other channels. I would encourage you to take a look at on the 𝘖cie website to see how a charity can get involved in this very low touch, low cost way in plan giving. And then if you've been doing plan giving for a while and you have a really robust program, it's really about messaging. It's really about changing the messaging to really overcome this barrier and perhaps relying a little bit less on the estate that is not necessarily needed by the research shows that's not a big priority for donors to help move them along. And again, that's, Willpower provides that information to help. It's a tool that, you can use to help move your donors along.
Okay, great. So I really
more than one tip.
No, it's good. We love lots of tips. Pardon me. So really encourage folks, if you're not familiar with that, pretty much brand new, because you're just piloting the Willpower program. So if you're not familiar with this, I encourage you to go check it out. Laurie has very helpfully included the coordinates on the bottom of the screen there. So you can go check out willpower.ca to see what kind of resources are available there. But I think I am with you, like the time is now, and gifts and wills are so important for small, mid-size, and large shops. And I think especially for small to mid-size, I've seen this real pattern around seeing organizations getting truly transformational gifts through gifts and wills, like multiple. It has not been unusual to see multiple 7-figure gifts come into organizations that are actually quite small. So, if you are having been in the shoes of a fundraiser trying to make the case to their executive director and CEO, there are significant gifts that are being made right now. And these gifts gifts are truly of a transformational size, oftentimes the largest gift ever received in the history of an organization. And you know, I think you're really missing out on this opportunity for your mission if you're not getting serious about talking to your donors more about gifts and wills and using this research and using some of these great strategies. So Laurie, thank you so much. Is there anything
My
else
pleasure.
you wanted to add before we sign off today?
Well, I want to thank you for having me on your live stream, and just, you know, for the charitable sector, we're doing good work. We're doing really good work. As Denise mentioned, we've moved the dial, and you know, we can move it so much further. When we take a look at our compatriots in the UK and Australia, we're only at 5% of gifts and wills. They've moved the dial to 12 and 17%, and that's a lot of money for this sector. We just need to invest in plant giving here in Canada.
All right. Okay. Excellent. Excellent closing message. So thank you, Laurie. Thank you, everyone who is joining us today. I hope you have found this information helpful. And again, if you want to find out more and dive a little deeper into this topic, please go ahead and visit willpower.ca. All right. Thank you, Laurie, so much. Thanks to you and your colleagues. And thanks to everyone joining us today. And we'll see you again soon. All right. Bye, folks.
Bye.